Hello guys, this is William. I hope you're having a nice holiday season time, and so this is part 2 where we add Firebase support to the Fiber UI kit. So Fiber is a starter kit for iOS and Android, so written in React Native that you can download at react-native.shop. And part 1 where we add authentication is on my the part 1 is available on my YouTube channel. And so this is part 2 where we want to actually store and retrieve data from the database. And I think it could be cool to use Cloud Firestore because it's new. I haven't played with it as much as I've played with the real-time database, so that could be interesting. And one thing I had to figure out before recording this session was how to upload images with to Firebase with Expo. So in a previous project where I was uploading images to Firebase, I was using React Native fetch blob, which has a native dependency. So if you want to stay within the Expo userland, that wouldn't work. And so after spending some time on trying to figure out how to do it with within the Expo environment, I found some couple of workarounds which were described on the internet. Actually, I found a good one which looked really good, but it seemed to not work with the latest version of React Native, and also it implied that you needed to move the whole image, so through the bridge to the JavaScript userland. So that was not super cool. So what I ended up doing is just writing a cloud function in Firebase. So maybe I need to let me open Atom. Yes, so I wrote a cloud function that you can upload images using fetch to this cloud function, and then we store the image in Firebase cloud storage. And if you are interested about this this solution, I wrote a description of the client part, backend part on my Medium account, so you can check it out. So this part is resolved. We know how to upload images, and yeah. So now we need to actually store the data into the database and retrieve the data. So let's get started. So I have here this function where I'm actually pushing the data to the cloud function. So here, so basically I have two endpoint URL. One for when the cloud function is deployed, and for the when I run the cloud function locally. And here I have a condition. If non-environment is production, I use the deployed endpoint. If not, I use the local one. So I actually here, instead of hard coding the URL, I should use the one that is conditional to where the client is running. I'm actually not sure that in Expo this variable is set to production. Actually, that's how I do it in in React Web, like, you know, if you use React Create App, but I'm not sure actually if it works in React Native. Now let's use production anyways. I mean, this is not a function we're gonna modify. It's a very simple function just to store a picture into a Google Cloud Storage. So let's just use production version. I'm gonna deploy it. So make sure it's deployed. Yeah. No functions. So actually, if you look at my package.json, I have deploy expo, which publishes the app to expo, and deploy functions, which deploys the cloud function. So if you check my circle CI file, if the test pass, yeah, we deploy to expo. All right. So let's get started with Cloud Firestore. So I think the first, all right, so deployment is done. So let's check if there is, usually, you know, I use the Firebase tools. So let's see if you do Firebase init, if there is something for initialize Firestore support. I'm not sure, let's check. I hope you can, the font is big enough, hopefully. Just, okay. Firestore, yeah. All right. Okay, that seems to be done. Let's see what was added to the project. Nothing, okay. Okay, it didn't seem to have done anything. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so you've seen I have a helper class called Firebase, and it has the Firestore property. And here I have the metadata I would like to store. So here add post API store is essentially just in memory. So I load some data from a JSON file locally. So if you do add post, it's just add the stuff to memory. But now we want to do it into a Cloud Firestore. What is really useful here is that I have the description of the model. So post, profile, picture, comment. So hopefully maybe we need to modify, like add some different metadata when we store it into Firebase, but let's see. So here I have post. Okay. We need to import the type post. Let me do some cleanup here. So the type post is defined in API store. All right. Okay, so here we upload the image, get the download URL. So we do a fetch here, then do a get download URL. So that's all fine. And so now we have the URL. That we can add to the metadata. Okay, so the profile information we can do later. Timestamp ID, no problem. The preview is computed, so we what we do here is that we take the image and build a smaller version of it, so 50 by 50 pixels, and get the base64 for it. And we store the base64 in the database. So when you get the data, you can load a blurred preview of the image, and then progressively, once you downloaded the full image from Firebase storage, you can progressively load the image. And again, if you check out my Medium profile, I describe how to do it. I think it's called Smart Images in React Native. So you can check out how it's done if you're interested to have this nice progressive image loading in your app. All right. So now so we have the post, and we can store it into Firestore. So let's say we're gonna create a collection called feed, where we're gonna add all the posts. And let's check the documentation. Firestore add document. All right, so we can create a doc with the ID and to set post. All right, let's try. I hope my font is good, yeah, big enough. Can make it a bit bigger. All right. So here the images don't seem to load. I'm not sure what's going on. We need to check. Okay, so let's take a picture. Write hello world. Oh, I think I need to. Okay, let's check the database. I think here I need to then redirect to home. Once this is done, I need to put a weight. And import navigation helpers. Okay. So let's see if the data was inserted. No. Okay, so apparently maybe I need to activate something. Alright, so we'll add security rules later. Sounds good. So it's not enabled now. Okay. So let's see what's going on. I hope you guys, you guys are having fun in with React Native. It's a holiday season. We can do, have some times to do some cool stuff. So I hope you guys are hacking interesting stuff. All right, so let's try again. So something wrong happened, I think, because it looks like an exception was caught. So let's try to do okay. So let's see how it looks like in the console. Storage object, Firebase. Okay, so it looks actually that it's an issue with the cloud function, but so let's look at the storage actually. So what's the ID? Okay, so it looks like the image was not stored properly. So let's look at the function. If the function returned an error. You know, I was using the local function and it was working well. So maybe, I don't know. Now that we're using the deployed function, it doesn't look like it's working anymore. Original name of undefined. So let's run the local function again and try against the local function to see what's going on. So I have a script called backend which runs the function locally, and in the Firebase file we can switch from the prod endpoint to the dev one. All right. So let's see what's going on. So function, so interesting. So locally it seems to have worked properly and not with the deployed. And you see here the data actually was probably properly inserted. So we have the URL of the image. Let's see if it actually works. Yes. Oh, no, that's the profile picture. So here we have the URL. Sorry. And okay, yes. And here we have the base64 preview, which we can use for the image loading. So why? Why doesn't it work with the deployed function? Type error, cannot read property, original name of undefined. Let me look at the code of the function again. All right, okay, maybe let's try to figure it out later. Why it doesn't work on the deployed function? I mean, maybe I can add a console log to try to debug what's going on a bit, see what we get from Malter. Let's try to deploy it just to see. It never happened to me actually that usually I have a pretty consistent behavior between the local version and the one which is deployed, but let's see. So we use the prod endpoint. It's deploying. Okay, so let's try again. Okay, so the image was not stored properly. What does the log say? Undefined. Okay. Let's look. Alright, so someone seems to have exactly the same issue. That's good. Duplicate. Okay, so hopefully we should find the answer. Okay. All right. All right, so there seems to be some documented answers on this issue. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do the database processing using the local cloud function, and I will let you know as soon as I implemented the handling on the deploy call function. I will let you know. I will probably also update the article on uploading images to Firebase with Expo, because it seems to work only locally. But so let's just use the local function for now. Dev. So now we have the explore page where we display the feed. So here, instead of essentially showing fake data, we're gonna actually display the real data. So here we have an array of posts in the state, which we set on mount. So here we not gonna get it immediately, so we're gonna fetch the data. So let me check Firestore. I forgot how to read a collection. So how can we get data with Cloud Firestore? Okay, single document. Query snapshot. So that seems to be okay. Perfect. So that's what we want. And I think what we need also is to add the loading effect. And here we have already actually a refreshing effect, but it only works on iOS actually. So that might not be, maybe we need to add another, I think, loading property. So let's add it to the state, loading boolean. So when we start, we are loading. Okay. Now we actually, I guess, need to import Firebase. All right, so let's get the data. Firestore, collection, feed, and okay, get. So it's an asynchronous function. Query equals await, and so once we get the query, we can do a for each. Oops. Oh, what? Document. And no, actually, let's do a map. So we can do const post, which is an array of posts. And so then we need to materialize the document. Seems to be doc.data. Perfect. Hopefully that's it. And we do this set state posts and loading equals false. Oops, async. Doesn't look too bad. Oh, I need to add some typing here. I mean, this here we're prototyping. I'm using, I'm just using set state. If you're using Redux, maybe you're using Mobex. I really like Mobex. Yeah, I mean, you can use whatever which library you like to do the state management. Probably right now things, if things get, start to, I mean, now we're adding Firestore, things are getting a bit more complex. So maybe I will use Mobex. Let's see, let's see how things go. Flow seems to complain here. I am not sure why. Post. Oh. Yeah, anyways. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so we got an error. Map is undefined. Okay, yes. That makes sense. It's only for each. Okay. Query snapshot. Okay. So let's do empty array for each. Okay. All right. Looks cool. So let's add so we have this loading state. Let's use it in the app. So here we have the header. Okay. So we have the flat list. We should. Oh no, I guess there's an. So if I go, okay. So we use flat list to display the elements. If I go in profile, I think I'm using the list empty component, which is just, I think, yeah. So I can use. No. Let's look at flat list documentation. Is there something where we can set a component when the data is empty? Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be. But if, yeah, I'm wondering if this is the right property to use, because it's only if post equals that undefined. If it's empty array, no, that doesn't seem to be the right component. Let's see. Well, let's try anyway. So I think I have the, a refresh indicator. Let's see how it looks. Oh, yeah, that doesn't look too bad. The problem here is that if post is just an empty array, it will also just show the loading effect forever. So that's not good. Let me check the flat list documentation. There's probably a very elegant way to do this with flat list. I just don't know it yet. Okay, I mean, so one thing we can do here is add a condition. So if it's loading, we do the refresh component, and if not, we can do a empty feed component and say like, oh, you know, actually we wrote this component already somewhere in profile. So if the so we take the feed of the user, we take the post which I've made by the user. If it's empty, we have a component that says, you know, looks like you may not have shared anything yet. Now it's time to make your first post. So we could use this component. It's called first post. Okay. We need to import it. Okay. So let's see. Cool. So it loads. You saw the loading indicator, and now it says, okay, you should share something. And I need to pass the navigation property, of course, so we can navigate to the correct tab. And maybe I can factor this into a variable. Okay. All right. Okay, and now we can add the data again. Cool. So now let's do the same in profile. Images are not loading anymore. I really need to check what's going on. Anyways, some small cosmetic things. I mean, so from so let's remove these two functions, and in profile so essentially for the profile page we're gonna do the same thing, and we just do a filter on the post. We only want the name, the one where the user ID matches, which makes me think that we need to store the user ID in post. So if we go into API store where we define the data model, we don't have the UID of the user, so we don't know yet which post belongs to whom. So we need to add a UID field, string. So in share picture we need to add so UID, we get it from Firebase auth current user, so we need to add it here. So now we know to whom which post belongs to. Okay, so we can go into profile. So we're going to add some state now. Profile state. So we add the loading state as well. And so the posts, so really same than for the feed. So I need to import the post model. So we import type post as post model. I need to import it as post model because we have a component which is called post, so the name is clashing. Component. Oops, API store. I think component will mount function I can copy from Explore. It's essentially the same where we add the condition to the query. All right. So here we and that looks good. Why is it complaining here? let's check the documentation. Okay, so we can just add query here. Okay. So where UID equals UID. So again, the UID we get it from Firebase auth current user. It's already imported. I am not sure why. Oh, I forgot to add that it's an array type here. So let's have a look. Okay, so we'll remove this function. Where is it used from? From profile? Oh, still, yes. So we need to modify the component, of course. Oh, where? Okay. So here posts we use from the state now. So we do posts from state. Did I remove the profile function already? No. Never used. Okay. Ah, yes, right. We were using it to get the proper data. Here we're gonna also want to show the loading effect. So we had this variable, which we're gonna use also. So loading. We need to import refresh indicator, and so I'm gonna use it here. And we need to import this component, which is probably defining components as far as I remember. Looks good, looks good. Okay. Okay, so now profile should be empty because this first entry we didn't have the UID property. So it's empty. So let's share something. Okay, so here we have two entries, and yes. All right, so that's not a bad start, right? So we have authentication, we have some basic database functionality, we have the file upload. I think, you know, what I'm gonna do now is take a break and figure out how to make, you know, the cloud function is running locally. So I'm gonna try to figure out how to make it work in the deployed version, and I will update the Medium article on how to do it. And I think next, you know, maybe we're gonna finish up the backend functionality, so add the edit profile information, or, you know, comments also we need to do, add some security rules. But I mean, you know, like it sounds like we're off a pretty good start. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this is you know, useful for you. You know, I'm definitely, if you have some feedback on the way I'm writing that React Native code, like I would really appreciate it. Like you know, if you have any thoughts on how, like, I could make things better, and, you know, if I'm missing some stuff, or I would just be curious to read your feedback. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Again, I hope you're having a great holiday season. I think it's a great time to hack some stuff, and yeah, so talk to you soon. Bye.